Hi everyone, my name is Koike Shakirat, a Microsoft certified trainer. Welcome to today's presentation on Kubernetes. In the next 10 minutes, we'll talk about what is Kubernetes, Kubernetes Basic Architecture, master versus worker node, core concept of Kubernetes, and why use Kubernetes. Okay, let's start with the basics. Kubernetes, often abbreviated as K8s, that's the K and the three letters, or the eight letters between the S, that's K8s, is an open source container orchestration platform that is developed by Google, and it automates the deployment and scaling and the management of container application. That's the containerized application. So let's move to the basics architecture of Kubernetes. It is important to understand some of the basic concepts of Kubernetes. Let's start with nodes. A node is a machine. It can be a physical or virtual machine on which Kubernetes is installed. A node is a worker machine, and that is where the containers will be launched by Kubernetes. But what if the node on which your application is running first? Well, obviously, all the application goes down, which is why you need to have more than one node, which is a cluster. A cluster is a worker machine. A cluster is a set of nodes grouped together, and that's in this way. It is even if one node fails, like one node falls, and you have your application stay accessible from the other node. Moreover, having multiple nodes helps in sharing load as well. Now we have a cluster. Who is responsible for managing the cluster? Where is the information about the nodes stored? Like how are they monitored? When the node fails, how do you move workload of the failed node to another worker node? This is where we have the master. The master, like at the heart of the Kubernetes cluster, is the master node. The master node is responsible for managing cluster state and orchestrating operations in Kubernetes. So let's move to components over Kubernetes. When you install Kubernetes, you install the following: an API server, a scheduler, a controller manager, etcd, and then kubelet, and lastly container runtime. So let's talk about it one after the other. Let's first talk about the API server. The API server is the primary interface for interacting with Kubernetes cluster. It exposes the Kubernetes API, which allows user and external system to communicate with the cluster. Now, let's talk about the scheduler. The scheduler, on the other hand, is responsible for assigning workload to nodes based on resource availability, constraints, and workload requirements. Now, this ensures that pods are deployed efficiently across the clusters, and it looks for newly created container and assign them to nodes. The next one on this list is the controller manager. The controller manager is the brain behind orchestration. The controller manager oversees the regular state of the cluster, like controls the continuous monitoring of the cluster and take corrective actions to maintain the desired state. Now let's move to etcd. The etcd, on this other hand, is a distributed key value store that stores clusters, configuration data, and state. It serves as the cluster's source of truth, ensuring consistency and fault tolerance. It is responsible for implementing log within the cluster to ensure that there are no conflicts between the master. And we're going to talk about container runtime. Container runtime on this and is like is example like Docker or Containerd is responsible for running containers on the node. It pulls container image from a registry, creates and manage their execution. And then lastly, I'm going to be talking about the kubelet. Like the kubelet is an agent that runs on each worker node and communicates with the master node. It manages the lifecycle of pods on the node, ensuring that they are running and healthy. So now let's move to the difference between the worker and the master node. So far we have seen the set of components that makes up of Kubernetes, but how do these components distribute across different type of servers? How does the one server become a master and the other become a node? The worker node is where the container are hosted. For example, Docker container. And to run a container on a system, you need a container runtime installed, and that is where the container runtime flows. In our case, it happens to be Docker. Like I'm going to use Docker in this example. Although there are other example of container runtime like Crier and the Rocket, the Cryo. So, but here we are using Docker. Then the master server has the kube API server, and that is what makes it the master node. Similarly, the worker node has a kubelet agent that is responsible for interacting with the master to provide all the information of the worker nodes and carry out action requested by the worker on requested on the master on the worker nodes. All information gathered is stored on the key value store on the master. The key value store is based on its CD. The master also has the controller and the scheduler. Please note that there are other components inclusive as we have discussed earlier, but we are just going to be talking about this because it's a short introduction to Kubernetes. Now let's talk about the core concepts of Kubernetes. Like from the foundation of understanding how it's managed containerized application, let's explore the core concept. Note that in this video, I'm going to be using the imperative approach for some of the example I'll be giving. A other approach, there's declarative and there's imperative. So the first one I'll be talking about is a pod. A pod is the smallest deployment unit in Kubernetes. A pod can contain one or more container that share resources such as networking and storage. Container within the same pod share the same IP and then port space and can communicate with each other using localhost. Example here, I created a pod using the imperative approach, like I said earlier. So this pod is like if you want to create a pod, you're going to run the kubectl run, the name of the pod, which is web app pod, and the image which is nginx. Immediately you run this, it's going to create, you're going to see this output and created, which means it has been created. To get the list of prod, you're going to run kubectl get ports. Now this is the one that just nearly created. You can see that the status is saying running. It has never been restarted because this is just created 3 minutes ago. The next component, concept I'm talking about is going to be replica set. A replica set ensures that a specific number um a specific number of identical pods are running at any given time. They provide scalability, false tolerance, and high availability by automatically creating and removing pods as needed to maintain the desired replica count. Here is an example of how to create a pod. In this example, you're going to be scaling. So you have kubectl scale replica, the number, replica set, the name of the replica set, and to get the list, you're going to see kubectl get replica set. Here I have 3 replica sets in my environment. The next one I'm talking about is the service. In Kubernetes, service provides network functionalities for pods and enable communication between different parts of an application. A service exposes a stable endpoint, typically IP address and DNS name that abstract the underlying pod. Now, there are different type of service. We have the cluster IP, the node pod, and the load balancer with its own use case. Now, for this example, I expose this service name deployment, and this is the name of deployment on a node pod, and this port is 3000. So once you run this, you're going to see this output. So to get the service in your environment, you're going to see kubectl get pod. You can say I have a load balancer which has an external IP address, and these are the port that is being exposed on. The cluster IP has no external IP address because this is just going to communicate within the cluster. Now let's talk about deployment. Now, deployment on this hand manage the life cycle of pod and replicas, like the replica set. They ensure declarative updates to application, allowing you to define the desired state of your application and let Kubernetes handle the deployment process. Deployment supports features like rolling updates, rollback, and scaling. So in this example, you can see the kind of Kubernetes. We have label and metadata. We have the under spec we have replica. This is just a replica of one. Then the container pod, which is 6378. This is just a brief example of a Kubernetes manifest YAML script. There is more to this. This is just like trying to understand a short example. Now let's move to why use Kubernetes. Number one, we can talk about is scalability. One of the primary reasons to use Kubernetes is its scalability. Kubernetes enable you to scale your application seamlessly, both horizontal and vertical, to handle rare level of traffic and upload. Whether you are experiencing a sudden spike in user activity or need to accommodate growth over time, Kubernetes can scale your application to with ease. We can talk about resilience. Resilience means in Kubernetes, it enhances the resilience of your application with features like self-healing, automatic rollout and rollback. Kubernetes ensure that your application remain available and responsive responsive even in the face of failure. If a pod crash or become unhealthy, Kubernetes automatically restarts it and replace with a new one, minimizing downtime and disruption. We can talk about portability. Portability on this hand is like in Kubernetes provides a consistent environment across different infrastructure providers, whether it's on-prem, in the cloud, or in the hybrid. The last one, I think, is resource efficiency. So, Kubernetes optimize resource utilization, improving efficiency and cost effectiveness by dynamically allocating resources based on application requirements and workload demand. Kubernetes ensure that resources are used efficiently and minimizing waste and reducing infrastructure cost. So that brings us to the end of this short video. Thank you for staying to. Thank you for watching. Bye.